Welcome along to Brands Hatch here in Kent for the Mazda Racing Festival, a one-day meeting where it's all about Mazdas. We have a packed programme full of flat-out racing for the Mark1 Championship around this famous Indy circuit. But let's have a quick catch-up as to what's happened in the championship so far. Tom Roach is still the man to beat, having had another successful weekend at Castle Combe. Only his one indiscretion at Cadwell Park when he spun out of the lead has stopped him scoring a maximum. On that occasion, it was Ben Short who was able to add to his tally of victories, but consistency is always key, and the EXO consultancy car is only fourth in the championship. It's Adam Gore who is lying in runner-up spot despite the scary accident at Cadwell Park, but James Blake Baldwin is just a single point behind in third. While with a super tight scoring system, literally anything could throw this whole championship away. That's why the Mark1 Championship is so exciting. Race 1 is upon us, so I'm going to hand you straight over to Ben.
Thank you very much, Nat. And here is the grid for a very wet and blustery Brands Hatch circuit. Groups B and C first. Rhys Jenkins on the pole position. Richie Puddle alongside him after a great qualifying session. Gore and Baldwin, Goddard and Preston line up the top 6 positions. And as we look further down, you can see not a great qualifying from David Liddell in 15th. Andy Coombs will be hoping for better, 11th. Charlie Charman in 9th position also. So greasy but dry at the moment here at Brands Hatch. A little bit of creeping from Adam Gore. Not a good start at all at the back from Alexander Preston and Matthew Lambert, I think, getting squeezed up. Gore's looking up the inside though of Rhys Jenkins as they go towards the first corner. Paddock Hill bend, he has the inside line, and Jenkins tries to go all the way around the outside. We're on board with Charlie Charman, who is right in the thick of things. Oh, and one of the red cars going off left of screen. Slow also from Martin Tolley. Oh, and he's beached it too. I think that may well have been Kevin Dengate. As Rhys Jenkins goes all the way around the outside of Adam Gore at Druids. More grip then around the very outside there than hugging the inside racing line. It's still greasy there. There's a little bit of a racing line through Graham Hill Bend. A huge slide from Richie Puddle, who leads this race. Jenkins in second. And there is Kevin Dengate, one of his better qualifying positions this year, and came to nothing in the Paddock Hill gravel trap. Into clearways. Oh, and Richie Puddle's lost the rear end and he's going towards the barrier. He's kept it out of the barrier, but he's going to get stuck in the gravel from the lead of the race. Richie Puddle, great qualifying session, and he's out already. What a nightmare. And surely that means safety car. Yes, indeed it does. 2 of the Mark1 Mazdas scattered around this small Brands Hatch Indy circuit. There is the safety car picking up our leading cars. We ride on board with Charlie Charman. Alexander Preston just ahead of him. Matthew Lambert as well. Looks like Richie Puddle may well have got his car back up and running out of the gravel trap. The yellow flags are flying. Now this is a good chance for the drivers to experience how much grip they've got around the circuit. There is Puddle. No, he hasn't managed to get it out. Won the scholarship this last year, looking very, very annoyed with himself. Second half of the season's gone so much better for Puddle, but not today. Losing the rear end through this particular part of the circuit, not easy. And now we are going back racing with Jenkins, Gore, Baldwin and Goddard, the front 4, sticking to the outside line. That's where the better grip is through clearways, and we go over the start and finishing line. That is where everyone can start attacking each other. No overtaking until you get to this point. Now Gore goes for the outside, a little bit of contact as they break into Paddock Hill Bend. Plenty of room on the inside, but Gore decides against it because there is more grip around the outside. As Jenkins proves, drives all the way around the outside, holds on for the lead of the race. Oh, we've got a yellow car in the gravel. Maybe that was Alexander Preston. Looked like it may well have been. Gore down the inside, but there's more grip around the outside. We know that already. And sticking and juking out goes Rhys Jenkins. Great drive around the outside of the turn there, and it keeps him in the lead of the race. He did that on lap 1, and he's done the same trick again, just a fraction wide through Graham Hill Bend. The sort of place they get very, very tight on 4 wheels over the white line there. It's where the rule actually came in after Jonathan Palmer was rather annoyed about his grass being ripped up. Down the inside goes Adam Gore to take the lead of the race, but he's struggling for grip on that very inside line. Now he drifts out, but look at the drive that Jenkins has as he just goes all the way around the outside. You see the rubber that's been laid down on the inside of the circuit, on the racing line, mixed with these greasy wet conditions, basically is like oil, very, very hard to drive on. And we've got safety car out again by the looks of things. I saw a safety car board, and that's why. Because Preston has abandoned his car right on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. It's a completely blind brow as you go over the hill there. You hook the curb on the inside, and then almost the car just four-wheel drifts towards the curb, and you just hope that you've got some grip. Preston didn't and went into the gravel, but that position is extremely dangerous, so the live snatch will be out to drag him out. Safety car picks up Gore this time with Jenkins, Baldwin, and then Andy Coombs up to 5th position ahead of behind Goddard, and ahead of Charlie Charman. Not a bad start from either Charman or Coombs. Now the race supposed to be 20 minutes long, and we go back up and running once more. They will do the full duration, but a lot of the laps will have been behind the yellow flags. And Gore leads Jenkins towards the start and finishing line in a role reversal than we saw on the first restart. Baldwin not close enough to do any attacking. Jenkins goes to the outside on the racing line. Brakes for Paddock Hill Bend, missing the apex because it's a little bit too greasy there. Looks like a little bit of a twitch and a slide, so he's not going to be able to attack as they go towards Graham Hill Bend. There is Charman attacking Goddard. Now those two have been at it all year. They managed to get past Coombs, or Charman has got past Coombs, and now trying to go around the outside. Graham Hill Bend it, and he does make it stick. Great move from Charman. Gore fighting for the championship. Really, in this group of drivers, he's the only one to feature at the very, very front of the field. Also racing in the Mark III Championship and struggling that a little bit as Coombs and Goddard go side by side through clearways and towards the start and finishing line. Goddard just seems to have a bit more drive, but now to go over the line, look at that, Coombs has got a bit more drive, sort of more speed, top end of the rev range. Now he does the switchback move. Goddard had to protect the inside line. Perfect overtaking move there from Andy Coombs. Now he just needs to make it stick. And we know it's greasy on the inside line, so he'll let the car run as wide as he possibly can. Otherwise, Goddard's going to go round the outside of him. Now look who's on a move. As the circuit's starting to dry, Charlie Charman has found some serious speed in that white machine. Tucked up behind Simon Baldwin. And this is going to be for 3rd position. Through Surtees, hook the curb on the left. Now keep the car straight as you brake on the right. Charman dives at the inside, holds the apex, lets the car run wide, and that is a very well working Mazda. That 42 machine looking very good in these drying conditions. Now, got about 4 seconds to make up on the front two of Jenkins and Gore. What can he do? I've got to say, he looks like he's got the speed to be able to catch them. Beautiful line through Paddock Hill, lets the car run over onto the green stuff, but just keeps a wheel over the white line to keep the rule makers happy. There's Coombs ahead of Goddard, so that's happened. And just ahead, Simon Baldwin. Now we go on board, down the hill towards Graham Hill. Back on board with Charlie Charman, with the front two ahead of him. Snatching 4th gear. Pulls the car towards the apex as we look further back into the mid-pack, and that is Martin Tolley. What's Charlie Charman making a mistake at clearways? Just let the car drift a little bit too wide. Why on earth he's still got his hand on the gear stick, I have no idea, and trying to control the car with one arm. But either way, from 3rd position, that was Coombs and Goddard going past, and Baldwin would have gone past too. So he's lost 3 spots. Nightmare. That's the battle for 19th position, and the last remaining runner between Grant Williamson and Robert Muggleston. Having a nice little fight there, the rookie drivers with their yellow and then black cross. Back on board with Charman then, and he is chasing down Goddard and Coombs once more. He's done them, he's passed them already. He has the comfort, well, he did have the control in the drying conditions, but maybe his confidence just dented a little bit after going off and letting the car run a bit too wide through clearways, or he's got the red mist and he's now really pushing on. The white car on the back of the screen really moving around. Goddard looks down the inside of Coombs on the exit of clearways, has the inside line, but we do know that Andy Coombs has got really good pace when he gets to about here. So side by side, oh, they're kissing doors as they go over the start and finishing line. And this time Simon Goddard being a little bit more serious about his defence and holding Coombs to the outside, keeping that position. And this, of course, is the battle for fourth, because ahead of them, that blue car, Simon Goddard, is in third. Gore and Jenkins well up the road. Oops, James Leach having a quick spin up at Druids there. And he's dropped out of the top 20 now. As we cut back to the battle for third position, Simon Baldwin, Goddard, and now Charlie Charman moved up ahead of Andy Coombs as they go up towards Druids once more. The circuit getting better and better in terms of grip, and Charman is just on such a charge. Remember, he got up to third position and then dropped back. Oh no, and Simon Baldwin's dipped a wheel on the grass. We know that's slippery, that AstroTurf. Lost one position to Goddard, and now Charman is snapping at his bumper, really giving him a hard time. Really with his head down now as they go towards Surtees. He looks to the inside, then dips back into the slipstream. Just a small mistake from Baldwin, and that's enough to drop him off the podium. Charman down the inside at Clearways. Is there going to be enough room, and is there going to be enough grip there? Because we know that going around the outside works better, but I think that Charman just about has enough to take that position. He's going to have the inside line at least for Paddock Hill Bend. Looks over to the left-hand side. There is the bumper of Baldwin, and now under braking, Charman makes that move stick, but it almost means he's now got a little bit more work to do to get back onto Goddard's tail. And the laps are significantly dropping down. A bit of a late lunge there from Simon Goddard. You can see the circuit's much, much drier up at Druids now. Missing the apex again. I reckon you could probably stick on that apex now, Charlie, as we sit on board with him. Snaps fourth gear. Again, takes that curb. The car looking so good in these dry conditions. Obviously not happy with the wet conditions, because we saw qualifying in a lowly 9th. But here is the leader of the race and the winner of the race. Adam Gore takes the checkered flag, a significant margin ahead of the next car, Rhys Jenkins. And then here comes Goddard and Charman for third and fourth position. Further back, Jonathan Bailey fighting with Matthew Robinson for the outskirts of the top 10, and that just about establishing itself. But a great win for Adam Gore, 5.19 seconds ahead of Rhys Jenkins in second position, Goddard in third, Charlie Charman fourth, Baldwin fifth, then it's Coombs, Dolly, Nidell, Robinson and Bailey was that battle we saw finish for the back end of the top 10.
Adam, quite the action-packed race for you there.
Yeah, with two safety cars, it was very, very interesting. Rhys got a great safety car start on the first one, then I got in the lead, and then I got an alright one on the second one, and just managed to pull away.
Yeah, you did absolutely pull away. Do you like Brands?
Yeah, I do like it. It's small, but it's, with the hills and everything, it makes it quite a challenge.
Join us after the break for more action-packed racing from the Mark 1s.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch for the Mazda Racing Festival, and it's the Mark 3 Cup, and here are the highlights of race 2 of the weekend. Ben Short on the pole position in the number 6 car, heading towards the first turn and taking a very healthy lead into Paddock Hill Bend. Well, Brett Smith did a good job of slotting into second position. We had a car grass tracking in the background and plenty of other action further down the field as they all struggled to get through Druids. Gary Hufford causing a bit of a traffic jam and holding up Carl Andrew and the 79 machine of Andrew Childs. In the middle of the pack, David Evans making a good effort to recover from a lowly qualifying position in the number 20 car, going side by side over the start and finishing line and opposing the 51 car of Jade Edwards of position. Matthew Lambert following through as well as Jade got balked to the outside at Paddock. A little bit of contact as well, just for good measure. Further back, the recovery drive from Gary Hufford after his Druids escapades on lap 1 put him ahead of the 22 car of Chris Hart. Chris Hart trying to fight back down the inside at Graham Hill, but no way close enough. And Hufford on a charge after dropping right back to the very back of the grid when they had contact. The windscreen wipers came on as well as the rain started to fall, making it even trickier out there to keep the cars on the circuit. Even further back, as the rain continued to fall, more and more battles. As you'd expect in the Mazda racing, everyone was fighting for every inch of tarmac. The number 40 machine, the green Mazda of Mark James, sliding up the inside of Tom Strange as they went into Paddock Hill. They were fighting for the outskirts of the top 10. And as mistakes were made in front of them, they would make up even more positions and continued their fight all the way through Druids. Chris Noah spinning in front of them, making even more a mess of their battle for the outskirts of the top 10. Tom Pugh in the 68 machine having to take to the grass in avoidance and losing more positions to Jamie Carolan in the 37 blue machine there, lying in third of this group. Contact ahead of them though sent David Evans into a spin. Matthew Lambert also involved as the leaders of the race found themselves in traffic. Ben Short and Brett Smith stayed in those positions from the start of the race but had to find their way past the likes of Mark James by the end of the race. Smith was safe as Tom Pugh eventually ended himself in the gravel, but Brett Smith had to make contact with Mark James to find a way through. It effectively ended Brett Smith's challenge for the lead of the race and cemented Ben Short at the front of the field to take yet another victory in his XO consultancy car as he fights for the championship. Over the start and finishing line, the checker flag awaited, and Ben Short would be the victor. He won ahead of Brett Smith by 2.4 seconds in the end, and Jade Edwards actually grabbed a podium in third. Matthew Lambert fourth, Eduardo Rodriguez in fifth. Blackwell Chambers rounded out the top six with Lovett, Latcham, Evans recovering to ninth, and Gary Hufford having spun at the start of the race, finishing in 10th position. The next race of the day was for groups F and A, and a dreadful start from championship fighter James Blake Baldwin dropped him not only behind Tom Roach, the championship leader, but well into the midst of the pack as Alan Henderson got the jump on him in the silver car. Plenty of action further back, 3 Mazdas ending up in the gravel trap. Joshua Jackson, Matt Garrett and Jack Sycamore, as Tom Roach led the field down to Graham Hill for the first time. Alan Henderson in second position. Blake Baldwin in third. Brian Chandler in fourth. The marshals did their best to move the stricken Mazdas, but it meant yet another day of yellow flags, safety car periods, as Mark Litherland played a very strange game, reversing his broken Mazda, trying to get back to the pits. Litherland's EXO consultancy car eventually recovered. The 3 Mazdas cleared from the gravel trap, and just a short amount of racing left to get Henderson in front of Roach, and maybe Blake Baldwin and Chandler in the mix as well. Not a good restart at all from Richard Lambert, dipping a wheel into the gravel trap before even the green flag. He was lying in fourth, he dropped back and had some serious work to do. Another man to spin, Wally Leach. Even before the green flag had come, the Mazda drivers finding the circuit tricky as it was wet and dried throughout the rest of the day. A big old looping spin as well from the 41 machine of Kelvin Brent, and he would beach it in the gravel too. Leach was on a recovery drive, trying to find a little bit of a gap, but there was no way that Mark 1 car was going anywhere. In the midst of the pack, the leaders were trying to find their way through. Tom Roach, still with pressure from Alan Henderson, trying to find a way past and do some lappery in these long 20-minute races. It would be his downfall. The blue flag's flying. He got caught up in traffic. Henderson started to attack. Blake Baldwin attacked too, and then a spinner caused mayhem ahead of them. Blake Baldwin was the one down the inside. Henderson lost out massively. Roach would lose the lead of his race. A crazy turn of events meant Tom Roach would not take victory. Blackwell Chambers taking the checkered flag first. Roach in second. Henderson eventually recovering to third position. Brian Chandler staying in fourth. And Ed Gay up to fifth position after a very tricky race. Rogers, Richard Lambert recovering to seventh, Matthew Short in eighth, Nick Holmes and Darren Sepsum rounded out the top 10 positions. Race 4 from the Mazdas coming up after the break. Ben Short taking on Richie Puddle for Groups C and D. Welcome back to Brands Hatch in Kent, a blustery and wet day at the Indy circuit for the Mazdas. And now highlights of Groups E and F. Blake Baldwin alongside Brett Smith on the front row of the grid, trying to come around the outside at the first corner. Brian Chandler, the 76 machine, heavily involved in the championship, but a very good start from Blake Baldwin, heading up towards the first corner, as plenty of other Mazdas went flying off into the gravel. Ed Gay, the 57 machine, burying himself nice and deeply, so there wouldn't be a need for the safety car. Chandler and Smith going side by side through Druids. Chandler with a better run going down into Graham Hill Bend. Couldn't find a way past. Eduardo Rodriguez sitting and watching behind. Drivers soon discovered that Surtees wasn't as fast as they first thought. Brett Smith getting into a huge spin and delaying Brian Chandler. Eventually he would recover, and make sure that he didn't go round Surtees as fast next time. In the middle of the pack, still plenty of action going down, and a very, very brave move round the outside of 2 cars and with contact. And Jade Edwards found herself up into 4th position as Sycamore continued to try and fight back after his disappointing end in race 1 of the weekend. Well, Jade Edwards scampered off into the distance in pursuit of Brian Chandler. Sycamore had the attentions of Blackwell Chambers, who decided that the shortcut through Surtees was best. Around the outside went Daniel Rogers in the 70 machine. Jade dives up the inside of Eduardo Rodriguez for 2nd position. There was contact, and eventually Jade would have to retire her car. Rodriguez fought for another day, diving down the inside of Brian Chandler. Chandler getting onto the wet stuff, sliding across the road, and a little tag on Edwards was enough to send him into the gravel. Not quite out of the race, but certainly a huge frustration. At the front though, James Blake Baldwin safely in front, safely free from all the battling and craziness behind. And it didn't stop there. All the way through the field, there was plenty of action to keep all the fans very entertained. Brett Smith, after his big spin, getting back up ahead of Blackwell Chambers and into 3rd position. As the lap restarted for James Blake Baldwin and Daniel Rogers in the 70 machine. The backmarkers did their best trying to stay out the way. It's not usual for a Mazda race to have this sort of lappery going on, but over the line, taking the checkered flag, Brett Smith was pleased with his drive. Blake Baldwin, though, took the win ahead of Daniel Rogers. Brett Smith in 3rd, Blackwell Chambers and Jack Sycamore in 5th position. Kylie Latcham making it a good race for her. Darren Shepson having a better race in race 2. Daniel Stewart, Gary Hufford and James Rodrins rounding out the top 10 positions. Moving on then to groups C and D. Ben Short and Richie Puddle on the front row of the grid. Simon Baldwin and Matthew Lambert on row 2. Rain shower means it's very, very wet and 4 wide going towards the start and finishing line. David Evans there in 5th position, not knowing which line to take. Latching onto the inside line of Richie Puddle as they stroke their Mazdas through the first turn. Side by side for 2nd as Short tries to fend off the attentions of Simon Baldwin. Diving up the inside, Matthew Lambert clinging onto the very inside line. Losing time, finding there's not as much grip in the middle there as there was around the outside. Richie Puddle then leading the race. 2nd, Simon Baldwin. Ben Short in 3rd position, trying to find a way past. Surtees far slipperier than in the earlier day. Got the car sideways, dived up the inside, and that was a pass done. Well, he ran wide and allowing a sniff of an opportunity for Simon Baldwin to fight back, but there was more grip around the outside line and Ben Short was able to continue. A big old spin though for the number 22 of Chris Noah Hart. Chris having a difficult weekend after plenty of action in both the races. The 34 machine of Adam Craig struggling around the Brands Hatch circuit as well, and a big old spin for Preston going into the gravel trap. Sam Gendy also getting it wrong and doing a bit of grass tracking for Mr. Palmer, luckily keeping the car out of the barriers. David Evans and Alexander Preston having a fantastic battle behind Matthew Lambert. Evans trying to go all the way around the outside at Surtees. He gives him the inside line for clearways, but Preston found more grip around the outside. And that promoted him into 4th. Evans, however, had mechanical maladies and had to bring his Enigma-sponsored car into the pits. Simon Tolley, again, having a great battle with Chris Lovett, as we tend to see in the Mazda races. A nice little path through Surtees put Tolley up into 7th position. Meanwhile, just ahead of him, Chris Hart being lapped. Matthew Lambert chasing down Alexander Preston for 4th. Ahead of them, Baldwin, Puddle and Ben Short were well away in the distance. Kevin Dengate in the 78 machine ended his day in race 1 in the gravel and had to take his car back to the pits in race 2. Jonathan Bailey was another man to have a good run of things in his BS Motorsport car, pulling out of the slipstream of Chris Noah Hart to put a lap on him. He found himself in 6th position, running a lonely 6th position and nearly being wiped out by a back marker. Way as they went round the Paddock Hill bend. Brands Hatch circuit was proving tricky for all the drivers. Plenty of safety car periods, plenty of yellow and red flags, and plenty of spins. Tolley and Lovett still fighting on. This, though, was a battle for the lead of the race. Ben Short being held up by a back marker. Richie Puddle finding the inside line, going through Surtees. They ran side by side through both parts of the turn. Puddle didn't quite get his car across the road to jump on the inside line, and eventually Ben Short was able to hold on and fight another day towards the checkered flag. He would finish the race as the winner, Richie Puddle in 2nd position, and Simon Baldwin rounding out the top 3. Baldwin was 14 seconds down by the end of the race. Preston there in 4th, Lambert 5th, Jonathan Bailey, as we said, 6th, and Martin Tolley. Ashley Grant moving up in the last lap to 8th, and Andrew Childs in 10th position. Well, that's it from Brands Hatch for the moment. Join us after the break where we'll see the showdown, race 6 between groups A and B, as Adam Gore takes on Tom Roach for the final race of the weekend.
Welcome back to Brands Hatch here in Kent for the next race of the Mark1 Championship. Ben, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nat. The final race, in fact, of the weekend. Groups A and B, Roach versus Gore. Adam Jenkins, Alan Henderson, Richard Lambert, Simon Goddard, all the big players in this one. Even number 7, Kevin Middleton, into the top 15 for the first time in a long time. This should be a fascinating battle. Roach with 2nd position in race 1 after losing out to Blake Baldwin in a frantic scrap. He'll be wanting some redemption. Remember, leading the championship on the inside line as they head towards Paddock Hill. But Jenkins had a great run of things as well in his race. A long hold for the cars, and eventually they head towards the first corner. A pretty equal start from the front 2 rows of the grid, although it looks as though Simon Goddard had made a pretty good start. He's on the outside though, going into Paddock Hill bend, and Roach being forced onto the grass. But it's contact between him and Jenkins as Roach had to take to the curb on the inside line. Jenkins is going to lose 2 or 3 positions because he's on the outside line. And Gore goes up the inside. Henderson looking to go up the inside, but they found more grip around the outside. Exactly what Jenkins did in race 1, he's done in race 2. A little bit of contact between him and Gore going down into Graham Hill bend. And Charlie Charman having a great start and moving up into 4th position there. Oh, and contact. Oh, Adam Gore has tapped Tom Roach into a big old spin, broken off the rear bumper, and now Tom Roach has got some serious work to do. Very strange accident, that one, because it didn't look like, Tom had just backed off a little bit. We go back on board with Charlie Charman, the 42 machine, has got a fantastic run on Gore with Jenkins on the outside. He's looking to try and get the lead of the race. Changes down one gear, hooks the inside curb, has a better run through Paddock Hill Bend, and he's going to go right up the inside of Adam Gore as well as they go into Graham Hill. He also picks the outside line to try and get best traction. And Tom Roach nearly being taken off again. Off into the gravel, just about survived that one. This is not the day for him. He was following Alex Roberts through the gravel there, but we have an onboard camera on the leader of the race, and it's Charlie Charman, an unlikely leader, but what a drive. Rear end of his car really soft as he bounces through Surtees. Gore there now in second position, being hassled by Rhys Jenkins. And then Alan Henderson is the next man up in the Silver Machine in fourth position. Tom Roach way down the back of the field. Looks like Gore's had a bit of damage as the 81 machine is facing the wrong direction. It's Andrew Gaugler. Oh, and Tom Roach has donated his bumper to someone else, the 101 car of Simon Woods, dragging it around the circuit. Back on board we go with Charman, and we've got is that Henderson in the gravel trap? I think it may well have been. Either way, we've under yellow flag conditions. Is that going to come out? There we go, lovely job. And that can be returned as new to Tom Roach. He'll want that back at some point. Right, on board with our leader then. Safety car is going into the pits and we're underway and racing once more. Not a good restart though from Charman. He's going to be under pressure from Adam Gore and Rhys Jenkins behind him. Henderson is still there in fourth position, so it wasn't him that was in the gravel trap. But Gore looks to the inside line through Paddock Hill Bend. Charman tries to cut his nose off. Oh, bit of contact as Gore just gets a fraction sideways through Paddock Hill. Now to the inside line again. No way of passing through there. But Jenkins has opened the door for Henderson, who's got a far better run on the inside line there. Now he needs to find a gap, but he's going to have to try and go round the outside of Gore as well. That's not going to work. Still side by side with Jenkins. Rhys is going to have the inside line for the first part of the turn, but it's going to be the outside for the next bit. But he's managed to cut through, has he? I'm sure there's a little bit of contact there. Henderson decides to back out of it, and Jenkins does make the move stick. Now they have the 46 machinist Simon Goddard right behind them as well. So Charman, Gore, then these three. Jenkins, Henderson, Goddard switches to the very outside. Henderson's going to try and go around the outside of Jenkins. Surely that's not going to work. He's going to try and hold on though, and eventually mid-corner decides against it. Jenkins was there and going to give him the room, but it's compromised his exit and he's lost a position. Gore looks to the inside for the race, but that didn't happen. Henderson losing out then, and Goddard slides through. Behind them, Matthew Robinson. Sitting, watching, waiting. Plenty can go off, as we've seen all weekend here at Brands Hatch. And there is Scott Leach, fighting for 10th position. A very noticeable car with the blue, yellow and the big lip on it. And fighting the attentions of Andy Coombs, who's trying to get past. And also dialing up the inside, the 21 car of David Nadell. So Scott Leach losing out 2 positions there. Right, Henderson now behind Goddard. Try and find a way past. But no way through as yet. Gore looks to the inside of Charman, and he's going to try and make that move stick. Charman shuts the door once more though. Strong move from Charlie Charman. And no way past yet for Adam Gore, whilst Tom Roach is at the back of the field. This is the sort of race that Adam Gore needs to take advantage. He needs to score that maximum 100 points to move him up into the championship. Jenkins there in 3rd position. Then Goddard, then Henderson, who switches to the inside line, maybe try and make a move. But Henderson just about side by side. Gollard's going to stick it out all the way around the outside line, but I think the circuit is now dry enough to yield enough grip on the inside line. They're still side by side as they come across the start and finishing line. Jenkins is giving himself a little bit of breathing space here. Henderson is now going to have the inside for Paddock, and Gollard's going to have to give up that place eventually. Still trying to fight it out, duke it out around the outside. There's enough space just about. Pass completed then for Henderson, up to 4th. Meanwhile, Charlie Charman still leading this race. What a great weekend. Threw it away in race 1, that big old spin. But at the moment, looking clean, relaxed and strong at the front of the field. Gore is there though, giving him huge amounts of pressure. Then it's Jenkins. Bit of a slide through Surtees. Henderson also, a little bit of slip angle on the car. Charlie Charman is using his mirrors very effectively. He needs to just protect the inside line. It's pretty easy around the Brands Hatch circuit to defend, but not easy to be fast. Oh, Goddard's gone off. The 46 car of Goddard fighting for 3rd position has gone off. Now Henderson's attacking Rhys Jenkins down the inside. He's going to have the inside line for Paddock Hill Bend, and that's going to work, but we've got back markers to contend with as well, and Jenkins going to try and get the switchback move, more speed out of the turn. Maybe he can get the inside for Druids. We have a look at our leaders, no change there. I don't think Jenkins was brave enough to stick it up the inside for 3rd. The rain's starting to fall again. Big slide from Charlie Charman's thrown it away. Big slide, catching the slide. He wanted to didn't have a chance to change down a gear, and that has compromised him massively. There is Henderson. Now seems in these slipperier conditions to be a bit more comfortable and pushing a bit harder. Gore has moved up the position then, your new race leader. Charlie Charman doesn't seem to have the pace as the circuit continues to get wetter and wetter. Where is that silver car in 4th? There he is, just flicking through shot. Right on board with Charman. Up towards the hairpin. Ooh, and a bit of a lock-up, I think, from Charman there as well. And the number 12 car of Richard Lambert's moved himself up through the field and past Matt Robinson. So Lambert, who again had a bit of an error in race 1, where he ran wide on the exit at the final turn before the safety car had even gone into the pits. And contact, 99, just about saving it. Dom Evans gets his foot down and heads on his way. I think that's the car of the championship director, Jonathan Blake. We haven't seen him out for a few races, concentrating on running the championship and promoting the new MX150R championship, which is looking healthier and healthier. We'll have a glimpse of those in the Mark III programme coming up. Scott Leach now in these wet conditions looking a little bit stronger, goes to the outside, but he's going to have a back marker in his way. He'll have to switch to the inside. That may well give him a bit more speed through Paddock Hill. Indeed it does. Oh dear. And the 21 machine throws it all away ahead of him, David Adele. On board with Adam Gore then. Now Gore was leading the race. He's got to try and get past some back markers. Tom Roach there now, making his way up through the field. And that's a pretty good drive from Tom Roach. Considering he was almost dead last, he's now pulling up behind that battle. Simon Goddard is a man that's been off already. Oh, and it is getting slipperier. Oh, Tom, a big mistake. All of a sudden, the first time we've actually seen Tom Roach have to really push. It's been good, but it's also been a bit ragged too. Richard Lambert trying to go around the outside of Matthew Robinson. Matt's going to hold on to that position, but he's had to take a very direct inside line. It's going to slow him down, and surely Lambert's going to have a bit of a run. We go back on board with our leader, who gets a massive slide on the exit of Druids. Oh, and 108. Jamie Ingram, who retired from his race 1, having a bit of a spin as well. This is really very tricky conditions for these Mazdas, as now Scott Leach tries to trouble Simon Goddard with Andy Coombs just behind him. That is the battle for 8th position. And just out of shot there is Tom Roach making inroads on the next group of Richard Lambert and Matt Robinson. Number 13, Scott Leach diving up the inside of Simon Goddard. And here is Matt Robinson, who's really caught Rhys Jenkins. There is your leader, Adam Gore. Gore is now well ahead of Charlie Charman as Charlie Charman goes through Druids as well. Seems pretty relaxed at the wheel there, one hand on the wheel. Gore now trying to find a way past Jamie Ingram. And then this battle. Lapping traffic to do. Goddard, Leach and Coombs still fighting. Gore through the final turn. It's been a frenetic race. It's been a frenetic weekend for the Mazdas. But Adam Gore seems to have made the best of a bad situation. He comes across the start and finishing line. The checker flag awaits for him. Adam Gore takes victory. Oh, and Richie Lambert has thrown it away again. Charlie Charman over the start and finishing line should be happy with that in 2nd position, definitely. But Lambert, who is running in 5th spot, dropped down on the last lap in the gravel at Clearways. Adam Gore, though, is your winner. Henderson held on for 3rd position and Rhys Jenkins just held on for 4th, but a great drive from Matthew Robinson at the end there to get him up to 5th. Tom Roach in 6th. Richard Lambert dropped to 7th after that mistake. Goddard, Coombe and Leach was the order at the end of that fantastic little battle for 8th position.
Adam, a tough race for you.
Yeah, really tough that one. Me and Charlie having the right battle. Managed to get past him about halfway through and then managed to get out a lead. So yeah, brought it home and that's it.
Well, Brands Hatch certainly never fails to please. There have been plenty of thrills and spills here. The track has changed from dry to wet throughout the whole day and the Mark 1s have been slipping and sliding everywhere. The next round will be in Fife, so join us then when we see more action from the Mark 1s.